I am Liam Foster, 28 years old, and I have lived with seizure disorder since I was 15. In my family, my younger sister, Sophie Carter, was always the golden child, while I was the problem with the inconvenient medical condition. When our grandma passed away, leaving me a larger inheritance to help with my medical expenses, my sister started stealing my medication. My parents dismissed my concerns. Sharing is caring, they said. Little did I know that my next seizure would happen in a community center, changing everything. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear what the judge discovered that finally made my family face the truth. My journey with seizure disorder began during my sophomore year of high school. I was sitting in algebra class when the room suddenly started spinning. I remember the fluorescent lights becoming unbearably bright before everything went dark. I woke up in an emergency vehicle, confused and terrified. After numerous tests and a 3-day hospital stay, the neurologist delivered the diagnosis seizure disorder. Life changed dramatically after that. My backpack now carried medication alongside textbooks. My routine revolved around precise dosing schedules. My parents reacted with a mixture of concern and annoyance, treating my condition like an inconvenience rather than a serious medical issue. "Try not to mention it," my mother would say before family gatherings. "People get uncomfortable." My sister, Sophie Carter, 2 years younger, quickly learned how my condition could benefit her. When I needed rest after a particularly rough day, my parents would scold me for not helping with chores. Meanwhile, Sophie Carter would dramatically volunteer to pick up the slack, earning praise for her selflessness. When my medication made me drowsy during family movie nights, my father would sigh. "Maybe you should just go to bed," while Sophie Carter curled up in my spot on the couch. Only my grandma, Ellen, saw through the dynamic. A retired nurse, she understood seizure disorder was not something I could control or exaggerate for attention. During weekend visits to her home, she created a safe space where my medical needs were respected. "Never apologize for taking care of yourself," she would tell me. "Your health is not negotiable." Grandma Ellen kept detailed journals about her own health and encouraged me to do the same. Together, we created a medication tracking system that helped me maintain perfect compliance. She bought me a beautiful wooden box with a lock for my pills, explaining, "Medicine is personal. You do not need to display it for everyone to see or comment on." When I moved into my own apartment after college, securing a job as a graphic designer that allowed me to work remotely when necessary, Grandma Ellen was my biggest supporter. She helped me furnish the place, making sure I had a proper medicine cabinet and backup power for my alarm system in case of outages. My parents, meanwhile, questioned whether I really needed to live alone and suggested I move in with Sophie Carter, who had a spare room in her house. The thought of surrendering my independence to live under my sister's scrutiny was unimaginable. 3 months ago, Grandma Ellen passed away peacefully in her sleep. The grief hit me in waves, leaving me feeling untethered. She had been my advocate, my support system, and often the only family member who validated my experiences. The day after her funeral, as family gathered at her house, I found myself sitting alone in her kitchen holding the wooden medication box she had given me years ago. It was in that moment that the family lawyer, Mr. Harrison, asked to speak with me privately. "Your grandma left specific instructions regarding her estate," he explained gently. "The majority of her assets are to be divided between you and Sophie Carter, but not equally. She allocated 60% to you with a note explaining it was to ensure your continued medical care." Lavender hits me like a time machine. One breath and I'm 9 again, crouched between Grandma Ellen's knee-high purple bushes, rain scent mixing with her chamomile perfume. Safe. I blink and snap back to the funeral aftermath. Candle wax drips, the wick ticking like a bomb. Sophie Carter leans against the counter, a shadow slicing her face. Her laugh used to feel like summer porch light. Now it scratches, metal on glass. Why did everything change? I clench the wooden pillbox Grandma gave me until the brass lock bites my palm. The lawyer's words, 60% to Liam Foster, echo louder than grief. Sophie's eyes glitter, storm blue and calculating. The air chills. My father coughs. Mom's lips pinch white. Flash. Another memory. June night. Thunder growls above the row house roof. Grandma Ellen's wrinkled hand covers mine on the trembling kitchen table. "Write every dose down," she'd whispered. "They may doubt memory, but ink never forgets." The next morning, she taught me to snap a tiny pencil into the tracker. Graphite dust on my fingertips like city sidewalk chalk. Safety smelled like graphite and lavender then. Snap back. Sophie steps closer. Her shadow swallows mine. My pulse kicks like a train on cracked SEPTA tracks. Did she really come to bring dinner? I picture my blue pill strip torn open. 3 perfect ovals gone. The taste of betrayal burns. Bitter, aspirin sharp. Next week at brunch, Mom hugs me too tight. "Your sister is trying." I flinch. She doesn't smell like chamomile. She smells of burnt toast and tight smiles. Sophie perches on the sofa scrolling, but her thumb freezes when I mention the missing meds. In that half-second, her pupils widen, dark as subway tunnels. Guilty or scared? Neither feels safe. Flash. Junior year algebra class. Fluorescent lights hum. My pen lurches, the room tilts. Sophie grabs my arm, panicked, not cruel, yet. Back then labels didn't stick. Seizure experiment, attention seeker. Her grip was warm. When did warmth switch to frost? Present. Another night I replace the deadbolt. Door clicks like the last bullet in a video game. Rain taps the window. Leaf rustle, then whip. I set the new tracker on the counter. Neon sticky notes flare. Map of my survival plan. Monday 7 a.m., Tuesday 7 a.m. Sharp. No margin for doubt. Weekend. I return to find my apartment lights blinking like a glitch. Couch cushions sliced, drawers yawning. The pillbox yawns too. Empty. Sirens outside fade into a question. Who needs me silent so badly? My phone buzzes. Mom's text glows green. "Your sister is coming over to talk. Don't overreact." Overreact. My heartbeat is already a drumline on Market Street. Flash. Last June. Grandma Ellen in the garden, snipping dried lavender. "Secrets bloom loud, honey. Pull the weeds before they take root." She dropped seeds into my palm. Her fingers smelled of earth and lemon soap. I saved those seeds in the pillbox's tiny velvet pouch, insurance against forgetting. I hadn't opened it since the funeral. Until now. Tonight I do. The velvet spills dark crumbs and a gleaming micro SD card. Lavender crumbs stick to my palm like guilt. I plug the card into my laptop. One file. Ellen MP4. Screen flickers. Grandma's gentle voice fills the room, steady, city soft. "Liam, if you're watching, it's because someone is playing with your meds. Here's proof." She pans the camera across her kitchen on the day she updated her will. Sophie hovers in the background, pocketing Grandma's pill bottle with casual efficiency. Timestamp stamped, evidence locked, rain stops. The room still smells of lavender and betrayal. My hand finds the lock. Click, clack. The next morning, at the community center, Mr. Harrison cues the clip. Sophie's face drains. Mom gasps. Dad stammers, red rising under his collar. No dramatic gavel, just the soft pop of illusions dying. The lawyer's tone stays calm. Ellen foresaw this. The additional 20% remains Liam's. Sophie whispers, "It's not what you think." The sentence trails like a frayed wire. I stand. My voice is quiet, but the room hears it. I'm not exaggerating anymore. Later, outside, the scent of fresh mulch mingles with city petrichor. I open my pillbox, refilled. Lavender sachets rest beside neon trackers. Safety smells different now. Sharp, deliberate, owned. The seeds Grandma gave me sprout in a terracotta pot on my balcony. Tiny purple buds uncurl toward sunlight. Somewhere I hear her soft laugh. Not past tense. Present. Growing. Growing. You probably took them and forgot, my father said dismissively. Or dropped them. Have you checked under the bathroom counter? I searched everywhere, finding nothing. When I called my pharmacy for an early refill, the pharmacist explained my insurance would not cover it. These are controlled medications, she explained apologetically. We cannot replace them without documentation of theft or loss. 2 days later, Mr. Harrison called about setting a court date. The will was being formally contested by my sister with my parents' support. They were claiming Grandma Ellen had been unduly influenced by me during her final years. As I hung up the phone, I noticed my medication container had been moved slightly on the counter. Opening it with shaking hands, I discovered another pill missing. A pattern was emerging, and with it, a horrifying realization. Someone was targeting not just my inheritance, but my health. After the second incident of missing medication, I knew I needed to take serious precautions. I purchased a small safe with a combination lock and stored all my prescription bottles inside. The safe went into my bedroom closet hidden behind winter boots and old photo albums. It seemed excessive, even paranoid, but the alternative was risking more missing doses of a medication my neurologist had repeatedly stressed I should never skip. For nearly a week, my system worked. I opened the safe each morning and evening, taking my prescribed dose and immediately locking the remaining pills away. The routine provided a sense of security, however fragile. Then came Sunday dinner at my parents' house, a tradition Grandma Ellen had always insisted upon and which now felt like a minefield of tension and unspoken accusations. "You look tired," my mother commented the moment I walked through the door. "Are you taking care of yourself?" "I am fine," I answered automatically. The kitchen smelled of pot roast Sophie Carter's favorite that our mother only made on special occasions. I wondered what accomplishment of my sister's we would be celebrating tonight. Sophie Carter got a promotion at work, my father announced right on cue. Junior account executive now. Sophie Carter appeared from the living room wearing a new dress and a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "Nothing fancy," she said with practiced modesty. "Just recognition for hard work." Throughout dinner, the conversation revolved around Sophie Carter's achievement, the challenges of her new position, and how she had always been destined for success. I nodded and smiled in all the right places while simultaneously calculating how soon I could politely leave. My medication schedule meant I needed to take my evening dose by 8:30. I need to head out around 8. I mentioned during a lull in conversation, "I have an early client meeting tomorrow." My mother frowned. "But I made your favorite apple pie for dessert. Surely you can stay a little longer?" "I really cannot. I have my medication schedule to keep." My father put down his fork with a clatter. Always the medication, always the schedule. Life requires flexibility. Liam Foster. Seizure disorder does not. I replied, trying to keep my voice level. Missing doses can trigger seizures. "I think what Dad means," Sophie Carter interjected smoothly, "is that sometimes family time should take priority. We hardly see you anymore." Before I could respond, Sophie Carter stood up. "I will get coffee. Liam Foster, would you help me?" In the kitchen, as Sophie Carter measured coffee grounds, she asked casually, "So, how are you really doing with Grandma gone and everything?" "I miss her," I said honestly. She understood what living with seizure disorder is like. "Must be hard," Sophie Carter murmured her back to me as she reached for mugs. "Having to manage everything yourself now." Something in her tone made me uneasy. "I am managing fine." "Of course you are," she turned smiling. "Hey, I left my phone in my purse in the guest room. Would you grab it while I finish this?" The request seemed innocent enough, but when I returned to the kitchen after retrieving her phone, I noticed Sophie Carter hurriedly moving away from my jacket hanging by the door. She returned to the coffee maker. For her movements too casual, too deliberate. I made my excuses shortly after claiming fatigue, Back in my apartment, I went straight to my safe, entered the combination, and did a pill count. Everything was in order. Relieved but still uneasy, I took my evening dose and went to bed. The next morning, I woke to a text from Sophie Carter. Left my scarf at your place last week. Coming by to get it around noon, if that is okay. I had no recollection of Sophie Carter leaving a scarf, but I replied with a simple, okay, before heading to work. When I returned home that evening, something felt off. Nothing was visibly disturbed, but the energy in my apartment had shifted somehow. I went directly to my closet and opened the safe. 5 pills were missing from my weekly organizer. Panic surged through me. This was no longer a few pills here and there. This was enough to potentially trigger a serious seizure if I could not replace them. I called my pharmacy immediately, explaining the situation in detail. "I am sorry, Miss Moore," the pharmacist said, "but your insurance will not cover a replacement this early. These medications are strictly regulated." "How much would they cost out of pocket?" I asked desperately. "The amount," she quoted, made my stomach drop. Without insurance coverage, I was looking at several hundred I simply did not have until my next paycheck. That night at dinner with my parents, I decided to be direct. "I need to talk to you both about something serious." I began, my hands clasped tightly under the table. "Someone has been taking my seizure disorder medication." My mother's eyebrows shot up. "What are you talking about?" "Pills have gone missing repeatedly. At first it was just 1 or 2, but now 5 disappeared today. It is dangerous for me to miss doses." My father frowned. Liam Foster's heart pounds against his ribs as he locks eyes with Sophie Carter, her lashes still glistening with crocodile tears. He flicks open the casserole lid. White capsules swirl inside the gravy like forbidden snow. Ellen's sharp gasp slices through the tension. "So, whose pills are really missing?" The dining room lights flicker, casting every face into accusatory shadow. The front door creaks, footsteps in the hall. Someone else knows. Liam's mind races. He can't shake the feeling that something sinister lurks beneath the surface. The scent of rain drifts through the open window, mixing with the tension in the air. He remembers the last few weeks, the missing pills, the hushed conversations, the way Sophie always seemed to be around when things went missing. Was it all just a coincidence? Or was there a darker game at play? "Why would Sophie want my medication?" he wonders aloud, his voice barely above a whisper. The silence that follows is deafening. Ellen, ever perceptive, watches him closely, her caring nature urging her to intervene. "Liam, you need to confront this," she says softly, her eyes filled with concern. "You can't let them manipulate you like this." As the evening unfolds, Liam feels the weight of his family's dysfunction pressing down on him. His parents, oblivious to the truth, defend Sophie, their misguided loyalty stinging like a slap. "You're being dramatic, Liam," his mother says, rolling her eyes. "It's just medication." But to Liam, it's not just pills. It's his life, his health, his very existence hanging in the balance. The tension thickens, and Liam's frustration boils over. "You don't understand. Missing medication can lead to serious seizures," he exclaims, his voice cracking. The room falls silent, the air heavy with unspoken words. Sophie's concerned sister act feels like a mask slipping, revealing the manipulative nature beneath. As he drives home, tears blur his vision, frustration clawing at his insides. In the bathroom that night, he notices the warning signs his body is sending. The stakes are higher than ever, and the truth is lurking just out of reach. Will he uncover the deception before it's too late? Or will he be trapped in a web of lies spun by those he should trust the most? I'm 11 again, sunlight slicing through hospital blinds, antiseptic stinging my nostrils. Mom hums off-key as she ties my wristband, soft cotton, scratchy at the edges. Dad squeezes the tiny pink elephant from the gift shop, its fur damp with his sweat. They whisper, "Brave boy," but their eyes say, "Fragile." The memory tastes like cherry popsicle and fear, A promise that if I'm good, love stays. It never did. The subtle twitch in my right hand, the slight difficulty focusing my eyes, the unusual fatigue. They were the precursors I had learned to recognize over years of living with a seizure disorder, signals that my medication levels were dropping too low. Standing at the sink, gripping the counter for support, I faced the terrifying reality. My own sister was putting my life at risk, and my parents were enabling her behavior. Worse still, I had no idea how to make them believe me before something truly catastrophic happened. The week before our scheduled community center hearing, the situation reached a breaking point. I woke up Tuesday morning to discover that nearly half of my remaining medication was missing from the safe. The combination had been changed, which could only mean one thing. Someone had watched me enter it. My mind flashed to Sunday dinner when I had excused myself to take my evening dose. Had Sophie followed me? The timing could not have been worse. My bank account was nearly empty after paying rent, and my next paycheck was still 4 days away. Without medication, I was facing a dangerous gap in treatment. In desperation, I called my neurologist's office. "This is Dr. Walker's nurse, Jen," said the voice on the line. "The doctor can see you at 11 this morning. Can you make it?" 3 hours later, I sat in Dr. Walker's office, exhausted and frightened. She was a petite woman with silver-streaked hair and a no-nonsense demeanor that had always reassured me. "How long has the medication been going missing?" she asked, reviewing my chart. "About 3 weeks, but it has gotten worse. Yesterday was the largest amount taken so far, and you have secured your medication in a safe, but someone changed the combination." Dr. Walker's expression darkened. "Liam, what you are describing is theft of a controlled substance. That is a serious crime. Have you filed a police report?" I stared at my hands. "It's complicated." The weight of my family's dysfunction pressed down on me. My parents, oblivious to the truth, defended Sophie, their misguided loyalty stinging like a slap. "You're being dramatic, Liam," my mother said, rolling her eyes. "It's just medication." But to me, it wasn't just pills. It was my life, my health, my very existence hanging in the balance. The tension thickened and my frustration boiled over. "You don't understand. Missing medication can lead to serious seizures," I exclaimed, my voice cracking. The room fell silent, the air heavy with unspoken words. Sophie's concerned sister act felt like a mask slipping, revealing the manipulative nature beneath. As I drove home, tears blurred my vision, frustration clawing at my insides. In the bathroom that night, I noticed the warning signs my body was sending. The stakes were higher than ever, and the truth was lurking just out of reach. Would I uncover the deception before it was too late? Or would I be trapped in a web of lies spun by those I should trust the most? I believe it is my sister taking them, but I cannot prove it. My parents do not believe me. Your sister, Dr. Walker, looked up sharply. Why would she take seizure disorder medication? We are in a legal battle over our grandma's inheritance. She left me more because of my medical expenses. My sister is contesting the will. Understanding dawned in Dr. Walker's eyes. So, this could be an attempt to discredit you, or perhaps worse, to trigger a medical crisis. The possibility spoken aloud by a medical professional sent chills through me. I had not thought of it quite that way. Dr. Walker typed rapidly on her computer. "I am documenting everything you have told me. This is potentially life-threatening, Liam Foster. Without your medication, you are at high risk for breakthrough seizures, which could lead to status epilepticus." Status epilepticus, I repeated. A prolonged seizure state that can cause permanent brain damage or death if not treated promptly. She looked at me over her glasses. I cannot stress enough how serious this is. Dr. Walker prescribed an emergency supply of medication, writing a letter to the pharmacy explaining the medical necessity. She also provided me with documentation of our visit and her concerns about potential medication theft. "I want you to consider showing this to the police," she said, handing me the papers. and to the judge if necessary, your health must be protected. With the doctor's letter, the pharmacy provided a 5-day emergency supply, though I still had to pay out of pocket. It was expensive, but it would keep me safe until after the court date. I felt a small measure of relief as I swallowed that evening's dose. The next day, I attempted to show my parents the documentation from Dr. Walker. Medical records? Really, Liam Foster? My mother barely glanced at the papers. This seems excessive. Dr. Walker believes someone is deliberately targeting my medication. She says it is dangerous and potentially criminal. My father shook his head. I lunged for the kitchen drawer. Empty blister packs spilled everywhere, each date sharp like an indictment. My head spun, the seizure vine tightening like a noose. Through the static, I saw Ellen's reflection in the dark pane, phone camera glowing, whispering, "Got it," just as the room twisted sideways and my knees buckled onto the hardwood. Will this evidence be enough, or will it disappear with me? Why would you tell that doctor about our family business? My mother's voice cut through the haze, icy and accusatory. You're just trying to manipulate the situation. I fought to keep my voice steady. I don't want to have a seizure or die because someone is stealing my medication. Using your condition to gain sympathy before the court date? It's transparent, Liam Foster. My father nodded, his agreement like a dagger. Just then, Sophie Carter appeared in the doorway, tears glistening in her eyes. Is that what you think of me? She asked, her voice breaking perfectly. That I would endanger your health for money? The medication doesn't just disappear, I shot back, struggling to maintain my composure. And the timing aligns perfectly with your visits. Maybe you're taking more than prescribed, she suggested, a hint of steel beneath her wounded tone. Or selling them yourself. Those medications have street value. The accusation left me speechless. My father wrapped an arm around Sophie Carter protectively. That's enough, Liam Foster. I won't have you upsetting your sister with these unfounded accusations. The court will sort this all out next week. I left my parents' house feeling more alone than ever. That evening, my friend Lisa came over with takeout and a sympathetic ear. She had witnessed my seizures in college, understanding my reality in ways my family never could. You need to document everything, she advised as we sat on my couch. Take photos of your pill containers. Keep a log of when pills go missing. Note who had access to your apartment. I've started doing that, I admitted, feeling paranoid. It's not paranoid if someone is actually tampering with your medication, Lisa pointed out, her eyes serious. As I stared at the scattered blister packs, the weight of my situation pressed down on me. Would I find the truth before it was too late? This is serious, Liam Foster. Your sister sounds unhinged. The worst part is that my parents are enabling her. They always have. Lisa's expression hardened. Then you need to be prepared to advocate for yourself without their support. What does your lawyer say? Mr. Harrison is concerned. He thinks Sophie Carter's challenge to the will is weak, but he is worried about my parents' testimony. If they claim Grandma was manipulated by me, but she was not. Your grandma was sharp as a tack and she understood exactly what she was doing. I nodded, feeling a rush of gratitude for my friend's unwavering support. The court date is Monday. I just need to make it through the weekend safely. But the universe had other plans. Sunday evening, as I prepared for bed, a wave of dizziness hit me so suddenly that I had to grab the bathroom counter for support. My vision blurred at the edges, and my right hand began to twitch uncontrollably. They were warning signs I had experienced before, precursors to a potential seizure. I double-checked that I had taken my evening medication and tried to calm myself. Stress could lower my seizure threshold, making an episode more likely. I practiced the breathing exercises my therapist had taught me, but the sense of foreboding remained. Something was wrong. Despite the emergency medication from Dr. Walker, my body was sending warning signals. As I climbed into bed, I set out my court clothes for the morning and placed Dr. Walker's documentation in my bag. Whatever happened in court tomorrow, I would be prepared to fight for myself, even if I had to do it alone. What I could not have anticipated was just how dramatically the truth would reveal itself, or that my greatest vulnerability would become my strongest evidence. Monday morning dawned with an ominous gray sky that matched my mood. I had slept poorly, waking repeatedly, with the distinct feeling that something was not right within my body. My limbs felt heavy, my thoughts slightly disconnected. As Liam Foster stepped into the community center, the air thickened with tension. The scent of polished wood mingled with the faint aroma of rain, but it was the weight of unspoken truths that pressed down hardest. Just as he prepared to confront Sophie Carter, a sudden realization struck him. The family secrets he thought he understood were far deeper than he imagined. The flicker of doubt in his mother's eyes revealed a hidden alliance between Sophie and someone he trusted. The ground beneath him shifted, and the stakes rose beyond inheritance. It was about his very identity. He recognized these symptoms with the familiarity of someone who had lived with a seizure disorder for 13 years. My medication levels were not where they needed to be, despite the emergency supply. I dressed carefully in the navy blue pantsuit I had laid out the night before, a gift from Grandma Ellen on my 27th birthday. For important occasions, she had said with a wink, she would have understood the significance of today's hearing, how much was at stake beyond just the inheritance. My parents insisted on driving together to the community center, a performance of family unity that felt suffocating. Sophie sat in the front passenger seat, occasionally catching my eye in the visor mirror. There was something triumphant in her gaze that sent a chill through me. "Did you take your medicine this morning?" my mother asked as we neared the center, her tone suggesting she was merely being considerate. "Yes," I answered, simply not mentioning the tremor in my right hand that had started while brushing my teeth. "Good," my father said. "We do not need any episodes today." The community center was an imposing stone building in downtown Philadelphia. Its steps were already crowded with people despite the early hour. Mr. Harrison waited for us at the entrance, his briefcase clutched in both hands. His expression brightened when he saw me, then dimmed slightly as my family approached. "Liam," he greeted me warmly, "how are you feeling today?" Before I could answer, my mother interjected. "He is fine. Let us just get this over with." Mr. Harrison gave me a concerned look but did not press further. "We are in Community Center 3. Judge Harmon is presiding. She is fair, but does not tolerate delays or dramatics." As we walked through security and down the marble hallway, I noticed Sophie whispering something to our father. He nodded, his expression hardening as he glanced my way. Whatever she had said, it had reinforced his position against me. The tension in the air was palpable, and I could feel the weight of my family's expectations pressing down on me. Would I be able to stand my ground? Would the truth finally come to light? The air was thick with tension as I stepped into Community Center 3, a space smaller than I had envisioned. The polished wooden benches gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, casting an almost surreal glow. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears. Sophie Carter sat across from me, her sharp gaze piercing through the room. She exchanged a knowing look with her lawyer, Miss Reynolds, a woman whose expression was as cold as the steel-gray hair pulled tightly into a bun. Did they think they had already won? As I settled into my seat at the plaintiff's table, I reached for my emergency medication, the one lifeline I had in situations like this. My fingers brushed against the fabric of my purse, but panic surged through me when I realized it was empty. Where was my pill case? I distinctly remembered packing it last night. Had Sophie taken it? The bailiff's voice cut through my thoughts, announcing the arrival of Judge Catherine Harmon. She entered with an air of authority, her presence commanding silence. "We are here in the matter of the estate of Ellen Grace," she began, her voice crisp and unwavering. Mr. Harrison, my lawyer, stood up, his demeanor serious. Your Honor, I would like to note for the record that my client, Liam Foster, has raised serious concerns about her personal safety and medical care that may be relevant to these proceedings. Judge Harmon raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Explain, Counselor. Miss Foster has reason to believe that her prescription for seizure medication has been repeatedly stolen, potentially by interested parties in this case. He continued, his voice steady. She has documentation from her neurologist expressing concern about this interference with her medical treatment. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. I could feel the eyes of the community center on me, a mix of curiosity and judgment. Would they believe me? Would they see the truth behind Sophie's manipulations? As I glanced at Sophie, her smirk faded, replaced by a mask of feigned innocence. The contrast was striking. Here I was, fighting for my life while she was playing a game of deceit. Could I stand my ground? Would the truth finally come to light? The stakes had never been higher, and I was determined to fight for my right to be heard. Sophie Carter's attorney shot up, her voice slicing through the tension. Objection, Your Honor. These allegations are completely unfounded. It's a transparent attempt to sway the court against my client. Judge Harmon's gaze was steely. I will determine what is or is not relevant, Miss Reynolds. Mr. Harrison, please provide the court with this documentation. As Mr. Harrison handed the papers to the bailiff, a wave of unease washed over me. The community center felt like it was fading away, sounds muffled as if I were submerged underwater. I recognized the familiar aura of an impending seizure. Gripping the edge of the table, I fought to stay grounded. Your Honor, Sophie Carter's attorney continued, my client categorically denies any involvement with Miss Moore's medication. She leaned in, her voice dripping with disdain. Furthermore, we contend that Miss Moore has a history of exaggerating her medical condition for attention and financial gain. Judge Harmon's eyes flicked to Dr. Walker's documentation. These are serious concerns raised by a medical professional. Miss Reynolds, does your client have any explanation for the missing medication? Only that Miss Moore may be careless with her prescriptions, or perhaps using more than prescribed. There is absolutely no evidence linking my client to any missing medication. The judge turned her attention to me. Miss Moore, when did you first notice your medication was missing? I struggled to focus on her face, but my vision was narrowing. 3 weeks ago, Your Honor. Shortly after the reading of my grandma's will. And you believe your sister is responsible based on what evidence? I opened my mouth, but the words felt trapped. The community center lights blazed painfully bright, each one pulsing with an unnatural intensity. I was losing my grip on reality, sliding toward the seizure I desperately tried to prevent. Miss Moore, Judge Harmon prompted, her expression shifting from professional curiosity to genuine concern. She was there when the pills went missing. In that moment, I was reminded of a sunlit afternoon in the backyard. Laughter mingled with the scent of freshly cut grass. I could still feel the warmth of my mother's embrace, her voice soothing my fears. But that day, a shadow loomed. Sophie Carter's laughter echoed, sharp and mocking, piercing through the joy. Why did everything change? The taste of salt from unshed tears lingered on my lips, a reminder of the unspoken rift that had begun to fracture our family. The whisper of the wind hid the truth, leaving me feeling more isolated than ever. Could I stand my ground? Would the truth finally come to light? The stakes had never been higher, and I was determined to fight for my right to be heard. The community center buzzed with tension, a storm of gasps and whispers swirling around me. My heart raced, each beat echoing in my ears as the world blurred into a dizzying haze. I felt the weight of Sophie's accusation pressing down, suffocating me. Was I truly faking it, or was this the moment everything would unravel? The judge's voice cut through the chaos, but it felt miles away. Would anyone believe me? The question hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty, urging the audience to lean in closer. I struggled to manage my speech, my words beginning to slur. Emergency dose, gone from my purse today. The judge leaned forward, her brow furrowed. Miss Moore, are you all right? I was not all right. The aura was intensifying, reality warping around me. I turned desperately toward Mr. Harrison. Happening? I whispered. Seizure. His eyes widened in recognition. Your Honor, my client is experiencing a medical emergency. She appears to be having a seizure. I need medical assistance in the community center. 3. Judge Harmon ordered sharply to the bailiff, who moved quickly to the door. I was aware of movement around me, voices raised in alarm, but they seemed distant, unrelated to my immediate experience. My body was no longer under my control. The tremor in my hand escalated to violent shaking, and my vision fractured into kaleidoscopic patterns. Give her space, someone shouted. She is faking it, came Sophie's voice, though I could no longer see her. She always does this for attention. Step back, please, Judge Harmon commanded. Bailiff, clear the area around Miss Moore. My last clear memory was of sliding from my chair, my body giving way completely to the seizure. I heard my mother's gasp, my father's curse of dismay, and then consciousness fragmented as the grand mal seizure took hold. Through the haze of semi-awareness that sometimes accompanies seizures, I registered fragments of the scene. Judge Harmon kneeling beside me, her judicial robe pooling on the floor, the bailiff radioing urgently for paramedics, Mr. Harrison removing his jacket to place under my head, and Sophie standing apart, her expression a complex mix of horror and calculation as she clutched her purse tightly against her body. The paramedics are here, someone announced. She has seizure disorder, Mr. Harrison explained to the EMTs. She believes someone has been stealing her medication. BP is dropping, one paramedic said. How long has she been seizing? Nearly 3 minutes now. In that moment, I felt the world slip away, leaving only the echo of my fears. Would the truth finally come to light? The stakes had never been higher, and I was determined to fight for my right to be heard. The scent of rain on hot asphalt drifted up through the cracked window. I was 7 again, thunder booming like cheap dinner plates against the sky, watching my sister Sophie tip the orange plastic bottle into her pink, glittery palm and smile. Mom shouted up the stairs, voice muffled, but I smelled pizza. I reached for my own bottle of kid vitamins and felt sick. My tiny fingers couldn't understand why her pills rattled like treasure while mine felt cursed. Did happiness come compressed in a chalky wafer? Could I trade illnesses for applause? That thunderclap painted everything bluish-white, and I tasted metal. Beep, beep. The ICU ceiling is a midnight runway. Spotlights blind me. Lisa squeezes my fingers, soft voice trembling. 24 hours, sis. You're back. A memory flicks like old film. Sophie's fingers tucking something, my prescription, into her clutch 2 nights before court. Flash of silver purse clasp snapping shut. No. Seize. My pulse spikes. Machine screams 160. Lisa glances to the door. I taste cherry-flavored IV drip. Friend, therapist, Hannah from college curls hayload. She's here. She whispers, eyes wide with fresh tears. We found the tracker in your phone battery. Every missed dose, logged to her cloud. Red digits, 145, 132. Heart slows, spins back toward calm, but calm is a lie when guilt drapes heavier than blankets. Estelle, the kind nurse with autumn leaf earrings, slips in. She feathers a cool cloth across my forehead. Peppermint scent, gentle, small-town, winter memory. Detective Rivera spoke with your judge last night. Sophie's purse contained your pills and a tiny digital scale like the ones influencers weigh white powder with. No way. I blink, hard. The room tilts. Lisa's face seams with worry and fury, lips pressed thin. Heart monitor sings steadier. 78. It rains outside. Philadelphia rain, slick blackberry sky, headlights flickering on long wet sidewalks as if the city can't decide if it's morning or partying. A gurney rolls past, wheels squeak. I remember a mural I painted once, cascade of purple butterflies. My brush froze when Sophie scoffed, "You paint pain pretty. Smart? Leverage." I tasted bleach and copper back then, too. Footsteps clomp. Through the doorway walks Detectives Rivera and Banks. Gunmetal suits, light raindrops on shoulders. Rivera kneels, eyes level, voice low. "Miss Moore, the DA is charging Sophie with felony tampering for prescribed drugs. We recovered 50 tablets from her clutch, 10 more in powder form. We need your formal statement once you're stable." The words land like rocks dropped in water. Rings widen, circles never end. I swallow. Dry. Metal. "Can I talk now?" My voice sounds like shattering glass wrapped in velvet. They nod. Lawyer Harrison off camera offers me bottled water. Sip. Hands shake. Paper cup crinkles like dry leaves. I begin. The story brushes past sterile fluorescent nerves. Midnight tremors on bedroom tiles. Instagram filters glamorizing strong girl. The aftershave Dad left behind when he left for good. Rain-swelled diary pages where I logged every absence like shipwrecks. Every skipped dose a betrayed accord. Hannah chimes in soft, warm, campfire tone. I printed screenshots of Sophie's private messages. Those selfies beside your IV? Scheduled. My stomach churns. Vanilla, too. The questions swirl. Why did it take this crash to make the ceiling listen? Was love ever a pill we could swallow whole or just pass around, hoping someone counterfeit wouldn't notice? Thunder rolls outside again. Grown-up thunder, lower, vindicated. The scent of hospital grilled cheese drifts ghost cold. I close my eyes. Remember the first flash, age 7, ceiling fan, spinning slow, warped halo. I hear Lisa's steadying murmur. "We've got you." And I realize maybe justice comes drip-fed, line by line through beeping chords. Mid-speech, my throat scratches. Rivera pauses, offers crutch, digital recorder on mute, waiting. I inhale rain-soaked oxygen and speak softly. Statement floods, crisp sentences like caramel shards. The room listens. My heartbeat floats steady. 76. Salvation measured in lithium lines and legal ink. Outside the glass, sunset stains the skyline gold peach. A nurse stop-motion adjusts the blinds. Words form, truth renting rooms in every future memory. And beneath the antiseptic I smell winter coming. Faint fireplace wood smoke, promise that somewhere there's warmth we haven't burned yet. Maybe that's where family begins. "About 6 hours," Lisa replied, glancing at her watch. The clock ticked past 4 p.m. and the sterile hospital room felt like a cage. A doctor entered, clipboard in hand. She was middle-aged, her kind eyes contrasting with her no-nonsense demeanor. "Miss Moore, I am Dr. Patel. You're at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. You experienced a prolonged tonic-clonic seizure that required emergency intervention." "Was it bad?" I asked, though the weight of her expression told me everything. "It was concerning," Dr. Patel confirmed. "The seizure lasted over 5 minutes, which puts it in the category of status epilepticus. We had to administer intravenous anticonvulsants to terminate it." She consulted her clipboard. "Your blood work showed dangerously low levels of your anti-seizure medication, well below the therapeutic range. Can you tell me why that might be?" Before I could respond, a knock echoed through the room. A tall man in a police uniform entered, followed by Mr. Harrison. "Miss Moore, this is Detective Ramirez," Mr. Harrison introduced. "He has some questions if you're feeling up to it." Dr. Patel shot the detective a stern look. "My patient is recovering from a serious medical event. I will allow brief questions only, and I will remain present." Detective Ramirez nodded respectfully. "Understood, Doctor. Miss Moore, I'm investigating a potential case of prescription medication theft. Judge Harmon ordered an examination of your belongings and those of your sister, following your seizure in court." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We found 3 prescription bottles in your sister's purse. The labels match your name and medication." The confirmation of my suspicions hit me like a punch to the gut. Despite my doubts, a part of me had hoped I was wrong about Sophie Carter. "She has been taking them for weeks," I said, my voice gaining strength. "Small amounts at first, then more and more." "Can you tell me when you first noticed medication missing?" Detective Ramirez asked, pulling out a small notebook. The air thickened with tension. My heart raced as I recalled the moments of confusion, the missing pills, the late-night whispers. What was Sophie Carter really after? Was it just the medication, or was there something deeper? As I pieced together the fragments of my family's dysfunction, a shocking revelation about Sophie Carter's involvement in my medical crisis surfaced, turning my world upside down. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the weight of betrayal hung palpably in the air. Could I trust anyone? The scent of antiseptic mingled with the anxiety gripping my heart. I could almost hear the rustle of leaves outside, a reminder of the world beyond these walls. "Detective, I need to tell you everything," I said, my voice steady. And as I began to speak, I realized that maybe, just maybe, the truth could set me free. I recounted the timeline, the first missing pills after Grandma's funeral, the escalating theft, my attempts to secure the medication, the confrontations with my family, and finally the disappearance of my emergency dose that very morning. "And your parents were aware of your concerns?" he asked. I told them repeatedly. They dismissed it, said I was being dramatic or trying to manipulate the situation because of the inheritance dispute. Detective Ramirez made notes, while Mr. Harrison filled in details about the contested will. The court ordered blood tests to confirm your medication levels. Dr. Patel added, "Do you understand the seriousness of what has happened?" My father nodded mutely while my mother dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "Where is Sophie Carter now?" I asked. My parents exchanged glances. At the police station, my father finally answered. "They are questioning her. She confessed." My mother added, her voice breaking. "When they found the pills, she just broke down. Said she never meant for you to get so sick that she just wanted to discredit you before the hearing. The revelation should have brought satisfaction, but I felt only a profound sadness. She could have killed me." "The detective told us," my father said quietly. "Status epilepticus, they called it. They said it can be fatal." Dr. Patel nodded gravely. "Prolonged seizures can cause permanent brain damage or death if not treated promptly." Miss Moore was fortunate that she was in a public place where help was immediately available. If I had been alone in my apartment, I did not need to finish the thought. Everyone in the room understood the implication. "Judge Harmon wants to see you when you are recovered. Mr. Harrison told me she was quite disturbed by what happened in her community center. She has placed a hold on all proceedings related to your grandma's estate pending the outcome of the criminal investigation." Detective Ramirez closed his notebook. "We will need a formal statement from you when you are feeling stronger, Miss Moore, but I want you to know that we are taking this very seriously. Theft of prescription medication is a felony, and given the potential consequences, additional charges may apply." My parents flinched at his words, the reality of their daughter facing criminal charges clearly sinking in. "She said she was selling some of them," my mother admitted in a small voice, "to college students who use them as study drugs. That is how she afforded that new car last month." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Liam Foster lay under the sterile glow of the ICU. Rain scent leaked through a cracked pane. An IV gurgled like a warning drip. Machines hissed. His pulse stuttered. He whispered a single line. Was survival the loophole Sophie forgot to close? The moment replayed behind closed lids. Sophie Carter in ripped jeans and crocodile tears. Wave of vanilla perfume masking dread, promising college kids sharper focus while stuffing pill bottles into her designer bag. The Prophets had bought her the red coupe tailing the emergency vehicle, the same emergency vehicle that carried Liam's motionless body across the river away from the community center. Ellen stepped past midnight security, leaf rustle under her sneakers, a whisper warm as fresh bread. "Liam," they confessed. Her hands trembled, yet strength pooled in her eyes. Sudden relief? A trap? Mr. Harrison's voice sliced the corridor. One final detail. He adjusted wire spectacles. Moonlight glanced off the lens. Sophie might still cut tonight. A quiet trustee vote tucked in the codicil. Door snarled open. Someone stood there, silhouette against the sodium light. Liam gripped his bedsheet like armor. The room darkened. Could a last-minute loophole erase everything? Or does truth finally conquer family knives in the back? I breathed. The kind of breath that smells like disinfectant and new beginnings. Judge Harmon's gavel tapped once. The world leaned in. The gallery air felt thick. Cologne mixed with fear. Mom's mascara tracked down like winter rain. Dad rubbed the wedding ring that almost slipped off the day before the seizure. Silence. Roaring, because the lights chose that second to blink. Buzz. Pop. The projector screen jolted awake. Black and white footage flickered. Sophie Carter moving through Grandma's hallway, moonlight spidering across the tiles. Fingers darting. Vials vanishing. Gasps snapped like rubber bands. Ellen vaulted forward. Chair clatters echoed like gunshots. Voice raw. I poured those pills into my hand. Orange, chalky, not the blue ones he trusts. She swallowed a sob. She swapped them. Sophie stood frozen. Her lawyer's briefcase slipped, papers flying like startled birds. The community center light strips flickered again. A countdown. Or truth flipping a switch. Judge Harmon didn't blink. She only raised the will. The parchment rustled. A soft hurricane. Grandma's handwriting glowed like sunset ink. "Let's hear it," I whispered. Mom reached out a trembling hand. Dad looked up, eyes wet for the first time in years. Sophie's heel clicked once. A retreat. Judge Harmon spoke. Clause 3. If any heir intentionally endangers another, they forfeit their share. The words rang, 12 perfect notes. Forfeit echoed. Forfeit. Forfeit. My knees locked, heart thundering, rain drumming the skylight. Mr. Harrison squeezed my shoulder. Ellen smiled, small, defiant. The projector fritzed out. Sophie turned, profile sharp against the glare. The document cracked the hush. A life recalibrated. One signature and the past unspooled. The gavel cracks. One sharp echo ricochets off the community center rafters like a thunderclap. Judge Harmon folds the will, slow, deliberate, paper rasping like dry leaves underfoot. Across the aisle, Ellen lifts her gaze, eyes wet, hopeful. Sophie Carter pivots. Red lips peel back. One word, whispered, razor thin, slides straight into Liam Foster's ear. Seizure? The overhead lights stutter. Pop, pop, buzz. Liam's world tilts. Knees buckle. Floor tilts. Rain scent floods the room. Ozone and copper. Will today's win cost tomorrow's life? Judge Harmon's voice slices the static. Clause 3 stands. Forfeit, forfeit, forfeit. Sophie's lawyer fumbles a pen. It clatters like bones. Ellen steps forward, heels ringing. Medical trust. Locked. No interference. Ever. A restraining order unfurls like steel ribbon. Sophie flinches. Cuffs glint as deputies move in. Outside, Philly sirens wail, distant, hungry. Parents linger under the awning, rain tapping their guilt. Dad's voice cracks. Liam. Liam exhales, steady, ocean calm. You chose silence. I choose sunrise. He turns. Ellen matches his stride. Behind them, Sophie's silhouette vanishes into red and blue strobes. Storm passes. Streetlights flicker back. One heartbeat. Two. Tomorrow starts now. My seizure disorder was always an inconvenience, something to minimize or ignore. Grandma was the only one who took it seriously. "We want to make things right," my father insisted. "Whatever it takes." I regarded them thoughtfully. The anger I had carried for so long had been replaced by something quieter, more resolute. "I cannot tell you how to do that. That is work you need to figure out for yourselves." As they stood there looking lost and diminished, I felt a strange sense of power. Not vindictive, but self-protective. "I need space," I told them. "When I am ready to talk, I will reach out." In the weeks that followed, the legal proceedings against Sophie Carter moved forward. She had been caught with not only my medication, but several other prescription drugs she had apparently been selling on campus. The detective called to inform me that she was facing multiple felony charges and the possibility of significant jail time. Meanwhile, I found myself unexpectedly free. With the inheritance secured and my health stabilized, I was able to move into a new apartment in a secure building, creating physical distance from the toxic family dynamics that had endangered me for so long. Lisa helped me settle in arranging furniture and hanging curtains. "How does it feel?" she asked as we collapsed onto my new couch after a day of unpacking. "Having your own place on your terms?" "Surreal," I admitted, "but good, really good." My neurologist, Dr. Walker, was pleased with my recovery. "Your medication levels are perfect," she told me during my follow-up appointment, "and the medical trust the judge established ensures you will never have to worry about affording your treatment again. Grandma would be happy about that. I said she always worried about my health care costs. She was a wise woman." "Doctor," Walker agreed, "many families struggle to understand chronic conditions like seizure disorder. The invisibility of it can make it hard for them to grasp its seriousness." The envelope trembles in my fingers. Heavy linen, gold seal broken, the scent of Mom's rose soap wafting out. I scan the final line. "If silence is what you need, please tell us how long we must wait. We love you, but do you still want us to?" My breath stalls. What if, after everything, their hearts shut before mine can open? My family didn't just misunderstand me. They actively enabled someone who put my life at risk. Dr. Walker nodded, her eyes filled with empathy. "The road to rebuilding those relationships will be long, if you choose to take it." I hesitated. "I'm not sure I do. At least, not yet." My parents kept sending letters, each one more carefully crafted than the last. I read them, listened to their voicemails, but kept my distance. I needed space to heal, not just physically but emotionally. Then, one evening, a formal letter arrived. Unlike the others, this one acknowledged years of favoritism and neglect. "We failed you," they wrote. "We are attending family counseling to understand how our behavior harmed you. We don't expect forgiveness, but we want you to know we're committed to changing." For the first time, their words felt genuine, a true recognition of my pain. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I folded the letter and tucked it away, a small seed of possibility planted in my heart. Meanwhile, Sophie Carter was ordered into rehab as part of a plea deal. The prosecutor called, informing me she'd serve 6 months in a minimum security facility, followed by probation and community service. "She wants to write to you," the prosecutor said. I felt a chill. "That would violate the restraining order," I replied firmly. "Not now. Maybe not ever." Then came the most unexpected communication, a handwritten note from Judge Harmon herself, arriving on heavy judicial stationery. What could she possibly want? My heart raced as I opened it, the weight of uncertainty hanging in the air. Would this be another twist in a story that felt like it was spiraling out of control? "Miss Moore," it read, "I have presided over many family disputes in my career, but few have revealed such a stark failure of parental duty and sibling respect. Your dignity throughout these proceedings has been commendable. I have taken the liberty of referring your case to the Seizure Disorder Foundation, which is considering using it anonymously, of course, in their educational materials about medical gaslighting." Should you wish to participate in their advocacy work, I believe your experience could help others. Wishing you continued health and peace. Judge Catherine Harmon. I read the note several times, touched by her personal outreach and intrigued by the possibility of turning my painful experience into something that might help others. For the first time since the ordeal began, I felt a sense of purpose emerging from the pain. That evening, as I prepared for bed in my new apartment, I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back at me was changed, not just physically recovered, but somehow more solid, more present in her own skin. I had been forced to fight for my life in the most literal sense, and in doing so, I had claimed a new kind of authority over it. The medication safe on my counter was a reminder of what I had endured, but also of what I had survived. As I swallowed my evening dose, I felt not resignation, but respect for my own needs and boundaries. My health was indeed non-negotiable, and finally I had the power to ensure it was treated that way. 6 months after the community center seizure that changed everything, I sat across from my therapist, Dr. Marissa Chen, in her sunlit office. The space had become a sanctuary of sorts, a place where I could untangle the complex emotions of my family trauma without judgment. "How are you feeling about the support group tonight?" Dr. Chen asked, referring to the seizure disorder peer support meeting I had agreed to attend. "Nervous," I admitted. The rain taps my apartment window. Steady, gentle. I knot my hoodie strings, heart racing. Tonight, I step into a circle of strangers who might finally get it. The elevator smells like coffee and wet carpet. I'm early. Chairs form a quiet ring. One is empty. I nab the corner spot, bracelet flashing under soft light. My fingers drum the metal edge. Tap, tap, tap. Calm or panic? Hard to tell. A woman slips in, hood up. Raindrops drip from her sleeves. She lowers the hood, blonde curls, sharp eyes. Sophie Carter, my sister. The room inhales as one. Did she follow me? Plot twist? Her voice cracks. I've had them too, since the accident. She rolls up her sleeve. A twin medical alert bracelet gleams under fluorescent light. Gasps ripple. I feel the floor tilt. How long has she hidden this? Ellen steps from the shadows behind her. She nods once. A silent message. Face it together. Ellen arranged this ambush to force empathy into our war. The betrayal cuts, yet curiosity blooms. Sophie meets my stare. I was scared of becoming you. The word hangs. Raw. Honest. A tear slides down her cheek. The circle waits. Rain scent drifts in. The same storm outside my childhood window. The same silence. Time slows. I swallow. My throat burns. Scared I was becoming you, I whisper. Recognition sparks. Both of us broken, both surviving. The room breathes with us. Chairs scrape. Empathy creeps in where anger once ruled. The counselor, tall, calm, gestures. Share if ready. Sophie's hands tremble. She grips the seat. First seizure at 12. Dad told me to harden up. I learned to fake normal, until Liam's collapse exposed us both. Her story mirrors mine. Hiding, shame, acts of deflection. I nod. Pieces click. My pain wasn't a solo performance. It was a family script. Ellen's eyes soften. Truth unites, she murmurs. Group members pass tissues. Quiet murmurs. Same here. You're not alone. The room becomes warm. A cocoon. Sophie and I exchange a wobbling half-smile. Not healed, but visible. Midway, we sketch seizure plans on index cards. Colors bleed. Blue for triggers, red for meds. Same ink, same lines. We laugh despite ourselves. The absurdity of parallel lives hidden in plain sight. After 90 minutes, hugs feel awkward yet real. Sophie lingers. Coffee tomorrow? Her voice still quivers. I hesitate. Meet at Rosa's, 9 sharp. She nods. Rain has stopped. Streets shine. Stepping outside, our reflections shimmer in puddles. Two siblings, same storm, now walking side by side. Nothing fixed, yet hope rustles like a fresh leaf. The restraining order still glared at me from a folder on my phone. Block the relative who almost killed you. That's the vibe. Chen tilted his head. So, reconciling with Sophie ever? I stalled, swirling a pretzel stick in mustard. She gambled, she lost, and almost folded me into bankruptcy. Words ricochet. Dangerous. Final. Chen nodded. Boundaries are art, not walls. Out on the sidewalk, rain hung in the air like cheap cologne, lemon and brake pad heat. I jogged 2 blocks to Rosa's. Inside, Lisa slid a matcha bomb across the table. Doing it for real. Philadelphia Seizure Disorder fundraiser. 10 minutes on the mic. Judge Harmon in the front row. No pressure. From collapse to spotlight, she grinned, but her eyes shimmered, proud and terrified. I flicked a napkin edge. Still writing the script. How do you tell the truth without throat-punching your own blood? Lisa squeezed my wrist. Story isn't them. It's you surviving. Plans buzzed. Rate my breathing, flashlight softly, close with a seizure plan QR code. Easy, right? Then the cafe tilted. Memory gut punches. Rosa's clatter dulled. I'm 5, hiding behind a coat rack. Dad's voice, cigarette rasp. Sophie, sign now. Play the martyr. The payout will triple. A sailboat mural above them melted into blood red. The rain scent outside turns metallic. Breathe, Liam. Table, tea, now. But betrayal freezes time. Her bracelet, identical to mine, catches my eye. She wore it that night, too. Proof. I rise, my pulse roars. Heart, be quiet, the mic will hear you. Lisa grabs my sleeve. What's up? Found the intro, I whisper. Thanks. Determination replaces ice-cold doubt. I'll peel the curtain, let the light scorch every lie. At the circle's edge, chair legs scream. Coffee turns stone cold. Sophie Carter glides in, Grandma's sapphire pin stabbing the yellow light. Eyes lock on mine. A white envelope, Judge Harmon stationery, rests between her fingers. She lifts it, slow. The sapphire winks like foreshock lightning. She bends, breath warm on my ear. How brave are you without your court angel? I taste tin in my throat. Roll call begins. Liam Foster? The syllable hangs like a guillotine. What's inside that envelope? The new restraining order, or Grandma's missing addendum? Scars throb, phantom seizure drum. Rain taps the roof like Morse code for run. I do not run. This story owns my tongue now. Alex leaned closer, eyes wide. How did you survive it? I exhaled rain-scented air. Not well, at first. I shrugged hard, pretending didn't cushion the fall. Denying the tremor only made the tremors worse. One night, a seizure slammed me against the bathroom tiles. Cold porcelain pressed my cheek. Sophie Carter stood in the doorway, silhouetted by hallway light, whispering, "Keep quiet or they'll blame me." Jealousy tasted like metal. I tasted blood. White-hot hospital fluorescence. Heart monitor beeping like a dying alarm clock. 13-year-old me hides the tremor again. Dad offers Sophie Carter the last sip of Sprite. Fizz crackles, unfair, loud. I count flickers of the overhead light. 1, 2. She murmurs, "Don't make this about you." The memory flickers backward. My first ER visit alone. IV needles, lemon disinfectant, whispering strangers. An intern, Ellen, slides in, eyes soft. "I see what's happening. You're not crazy." She drops a folded paper into my hoodie pocket. Address of a support group. No questions, just a gentle squeeze. Fast forward to last week's church basement meeting. Folding chairs scrape. Coffee scorched and bitter. I confess. Family, sabotage, pills mixed. Janelle nods. Curls bounce. Medical gaslighting, she says, voice quiet. Bodies lean in, not for gossip, for witness. Lighter. Mom's text arrives next morning. Plain font, no emojis. Thinking of you. Take care of yourself. Love, Mom. I swallow, eyes blur. No demand, no guilt, just space. I tap back. Thanks, Mom. Thumb hovers, then send. Back home, I open the medical trust binder Judge Harmon slid across the table. Pages rustle like fresh lettuce. I trace lines funding neurocopays, seizure alert devices, therapy. I earmark half into an emergency fund. Ellen whispers from memory. Guard that safety net like a last scrap of night. The rest I funnel into blue chip funds. Slow, steady. Coins clink, heartbeat calm. I step onto the balcony. Dusk washes Philadelphia sky purple. Streetlights buzz awake like sprites. Raindrops sprinkle the railing. For the first time, I don't flinch. Instead, I whisper, I'm still here. The day before the Seizure Disorder Foundation fundraiser, I found myself standing at Grandma Ellen's grave, clutching a bouquet of her favorite daisies. The cemetery was serene, the late afternoon sun casting a warm glow. Birds chirped in the oak trees, their songs a gentle reminder of life. I wish you could see me now, Grandma, I whispered, arranging the flowers against her headstone. You always said I was stronger than I knew. I think I'm finally starting to believe you. I poured out my heart, sharing stories of the support group, my therapy progress, and the upcoming speaking engagement. It felt right to connect with her, even if just in spirit. I realized I wasn't angry anymore, not at Mom and Dad, not even at Sophie Carter. I was just free. As the evening of the fundraiser arrived, the air was crisp, hinting at autumn. The venue, an elegant hotel ballroom, buzzed with energy. Medical professionals, advocates, patients, and their families filled the space. Judge Harmon spotted me before the program began, looking sharp in a navy suit that mirrored her judicial robes. Liam Foster, she greeted warmly. You look wonderful. Thank you for suggesting I get involved, I replied, feeling a sense of purpose. It has made such a difference. Sometimes purpose can be found in the most difficult experiences, she said, her eyes reflecting understanding. When my turn to speak came, I approached the podium with an unexpected calm. The faces looking back at me were attentive, open, free of the judgment I had feared for so long. My name is Liam Foster, I began, my voice steady. For 13 years, I've lived with a seizure disorder. For most of that time, I believed my condition was a burden I had to minimize, hide, or apologize for. My family reinforced this belief through years of dismissal and actions that nearly cost me my life. I shared my story simply and honestly, from Grandma's unwavering support to the community center seizure and its aftermath. Each word felt like a release, a step toward healing. What I learned through this ordeal was not just about seizure disorder, but about self-advocacy, about the non-negotiable right to have my medical needs taken seriously, about surrounding myself with people who reinforce rather than undermine my well-being. As I spoke, I noticed a few people wiping away tears, others nodding in recognition. Today, I am not defined by what happened to me, but by how I responded to it, by the boundaries I set, the community I found, and the voice I am still learning to use. My grandma once told me that health is not negotiable. I now understand that this applies not just to physical health, but to the health of our relationships, our self-respect, and our sense of agency. I concluded with words I had carefully considered. If you take one thing from my story, let it be this: believe yourself when others do not. Trust your experience of your own body and mind, and know that you deserve care that honors rather than dismisses your reality. The applause that followed was warm and affirming. After the formal program ended, several people approached to share their own experiences of medical gaslighting and family denial. Each conversation reinforced what the support group had begun to teach me. I was not alone in my struggle, and my voice could help others find theirs. Judge Harmon found me as the event was winding down. That was powerful. Liam Foster, you have a gift for advocacy. I'm still learning, I admitted, but it feels right using what happened to help others. That is how healing often works, she replied thoughtfully. We transform our wounds into wisdom that others can use. As I drove home that night, I reflected on the journey of the past 9 months. From the terrifying community center collapse to this moment of purpose and community, I had traversed a landscape of betrayal, vindication, and, ultimately, reclamation. The inheritance landed on my doormat like a grenade, a crisp manila envelope from Grandma Ellen's estate attorney. Inside, 50 grand, but only if you release your medical records to Sophie Carter. My older sister, queen of gaslight chic, wanted proof my seizures were fake. Rain slapped the windows. Phone buzz. Sophie. Just sign, bro. Stop milking the drama. I pressed mute, heart racing 90, thought of Grandma's soft perfume. Bedtime stories. Her mantra. Truth is louder than shame. Pause. Was this my line in the sand? I drove straight to the community center. The hallway smelled of wet coats and popcorn. LED panels hummed above me like anxious bees. Ellen waited in the library alcove. Same tremor in her left hand, same steady eyes. She whispered, "Show them the scar on your courage, kid." I unfolded the envelope. Center round, city council crew looked up, pens frozen. I lifted the mic. Literal mic drop moment. 12 seconds of silence, then soft leaf rustle of judgment shifting. Sophie says money buys truth. But silence, I asked. That's the real price. Judge Harmon met my gaze, nodding slow. Lights dim, lights up. I felt lighter than I had since the first seizure I hid in algebra class. Sound of approval, claps cracked like distant thunder, rolling closer. My legs threatened tremors, but I stayed rooted. Scent of old carpet, tears, popcorn again. This time warm. Evening on the drive home. Indie playlist, city lights smeared across the windshield like watercolor. Ellen texted, "Proud doesn't cover it. You just became anchor and sail." Parked. Quiet. In the doorway, grocery bags slipped from my fingers. But nothing broke. I placed the unopened envelope on the counter. Golden street lamp licked the clock at 11:42 p.m. Took one pill carelessly, one mindfully. Sat on the rug. Wrapped myself in Grandma Ellen's quilt she knit during chemo. Stitched inside, believe hard, believe out loud. I breathe in. Night air, rain scent, wet asphalt, freedom rising like steam. Everything Sophie hoarded, attention, approval, cash, suddenly tastes like cardboard. My truth. It glowed. Raw. Real. Unapologetic. No legacy of fear tonight. Only the quiet certainty of my heartbeat. Steady. Clear. Mine.